If it feels like you haven't had a decent pay rise in a while, there's a reason why. Two sets of official figures released this week show that wages are growing at the slowest pace on record. It's an indication that the economy is weak, as Pat McGrath reports.
I'm a registered nurse, so I work at a major metropolitan Sydney hospital, and I work a rotating roster, so nights, weekends, public holidays.
After a stretch of long shifts, Edward Makepeace has got the day off.
I guess the best thing about nursing is that you get to meet a lot of interesting people. You're always up and about actively doing things.
Edward says he didn't get into nursing for the money, but like all healthcare workers around the country, he's been feeling the pinch of sluggish wage growth.
And just with the current cost of living in Sydney and the inflation and everything, you know, it's starting to get less and less of an actual increase, you know, in your in pocket.
Keen to achieve better pay and conditions for nurses, he joined the State Council of his union early this year. But healthcare isn't the only sector where wages are languishing. Overall wage growth has tumbled from above 4% a year to a record low of 2.3%. Construction workers, scientists and other technical professionals are faring the worse. Among the states and territories, wage growth is the slowest in the ACT, and the situation's almost as grim in New South Wales, Queensland and Western Australia. That's being seen as a symptom of an anaemic economy.
Well, basically the economy's slowing. We've now got, upwards of 15% of our available labour force not working in one way or another, either unemployment or underemployment.
Some economists say the downwards trend hasn't been reflected in the official numbers until now.
I think what the mining boom covered up was the weakness of the mainstream labour market. The East Coast really has been close to recession for some years.
And sluggish wage growth threatens to drag down the overall economy.
If wages are low, workers are not going to spend as much.
Economist Bill Mitchell says this belt tightening will inevitably shrink the government's revenue.
What the government should do is step in and stimulate the economy. You know, when the private sector's booming, the government should be putting the brakes on so that we don't get inflation. But when the private sector is not booming, the government should do exactly the opposite and inject spending stimulus to the economy, as it did in 2008.
Employers say the government shouldn't spend its way out of trouble and should look for other levers to boost construction and other industries, like less regulation.
Wage increases are still at a higher rate than inflation. If we were seeing more of a wage blowout, that would be reflecting much more dramatically in unemployment rates.
Since I started in 2000, I'm doing full-time, 8 hours every day.
Gamal Barbaker doesn't agree that flat wages are what's keeping him in work. 5 nights a week, he puts on his uniform and heads off to his job as a cleaner at a Melbourne shopping centre.
And now I'm doing night shift, midnight to 8 o'clock in the morning.
He feels like his salary isn't keeping up with the cost of living.
Everything goes up, and the pay increase we get every year, not enough for a cup of coffee.
730 first met the Cleaners Union rep 4 years ago.
I want to secure my income. I want more income.
He's still worried about his financial security and the threat of penalty rates being cut.
Now they're attacking our penalty rate, And now we start as a union and the cleaner to fight to keep what we have. Instead of having better condition, better pay, now we're fighting to keep what we have. It is disappointing thing,
Look, what we're talking about with penalty rates is to bring Sunday penalty rates down to the same level as Saturday penalty rates, simply because the difference between Saturdays and Sundays in our society now is lower. Why we want to do that is we want to ensure that businesses in the hospitality tourism area can open longer hours. If they open longer hours, they can pay more staff, employ more people.
But analysts say there's no hard evidence that cutting penalty rates will deliver jobs growth.
What will happen is that we may get some spending redistribution towards Sundays maybe, but that'll be at the cost of spending elsewhere.
I didn't see a future because I don't have enough superannuation money to live a better life. What can I do? I have to keep working.
Pat McGrath reporting.